feeling in the chest rather than a sound in the ear. A low, rolling thump that grows into a full-body vibration until the pavement itself seems to quiver. It is not just fuel combusting in metal cylinders. It is muscle and appetite and attitude, a kind of organized chaos made from turbo whine and exhaust pressure, and the will of people who refuse to be quiet. The first plume of smoke rises like a flag and the crowd leans in. If you came looking for something polite, you took a wrong turn. This is the frontier where forestry tech meets street thunder, where big tires leave bigger stories. And where 2025 means louder, faster, tougher. Anyone who has logged miles knows that fear has a simple shape when it shows up at speed. The tire lets go. It is the nightmare every driver carries like a folded note in the pocket, the one you hope never opens. A sharp report, a wobble, a surge of heat, the road becoming a rumor under you. When it happens on a busy highway, your pulse finds redline first, then your hands. You grip, you steer, you pray that inertia listens. That's part of the strange gravity of this world. The danger is real, and so is the discipline that keeps it from turning tragic. People who build and run these machines understand both truths at once. There are gatherings where the air itself seems caffeinated. Lifted truck nationals felt like that. A carnival built from boost pressure and polished chrome. It was a festival of hardware and bravado, and when Spencer rolled into the lights, you could feel the voltage change. His 4th-gen Ram, 30,000 small decisions deep, fresh rubber planted, and a 6.7 Cummins breathing like a storm, wasn't here to make friends. He staged with a bottle of nitrous in the system and a grin that said all or nothing. The first burnout spun the world into a smear. Wheel speed climbed past the point most people back out, the needle sprinting, the road shrugging. By the time he eased off, the knight had already decided this run would be remembered. Speed has many dialects. A sleek sports car will talk about trap numbers and arrow whisper. A built diesel speaks in a different grammar, the punctuation coming from torque that hits like a hammer swing. There are runs where the scoreboard says one thing, yet the people watching feel something else in their bone. A lightweight machine might win the paper race, but that heavy-duty truck leaves dents in pride that take longer to pull out. That instant off the line, axle twist, chassis load, rubber bite, becomes an exclamation point you can hear. A lot of this subculture bends towards showmanship. Some folks watch too many movies, then try their own edits in real life. That is how you get a clapped-out S10 aimed at a creek on a dare, the kind of stunt that breaks quickly into a lesson about gravity and water and the weight of foolish choices. It goes in easy because going in is always easy. Pulling it back out under mud and laughter proves, yet again, that recovery takes 10 times the effort that impulse demands. People gather. Phones come out. The winch strap goes taut. Someone swears. The creek keeps its poker face until the very last inch. At the other end of the spectrum, there are duels that feel almost ceremonial. Think of a heavy Ram with a Cummins under hood lined up nose to nose with a Ford wearing a Power Stroke badge, chained together across a field of snow like two stubborn oxen. No mercy, no finesse, just physics against physics. The engines spool, the chains sing, and the ground writes out a wrestling match in clawed crescents. The revs rise, the crowd tightens, the pull begins. Whoever wins, the point is not just to drag the other backwards. The point is to prove a thesis about preparation and tuning and traction, and the stubbornness that makes the last few inches count more than the first 10 feet. course, not every show is speed. Sometimes a driver spends more fuel on theatrics than motion, and the exhaust becomes a curtain thicker than progress. People laugh and cheer because they came for spectacle and fireworks, and a wall of smoke is undeniably a kind of firework. The real trick, is to come down from the wall you climbed without paying for it with a grill and a pair of headlights. Anyone can mash a pedal and point uphill. Only a driver who understands weight transfer and throttle finesse can walk a heavy nose down a vertical face without a crunch. That is the flex that matters. Watch long enough and you learn to thank every engineer who fought for skid plates and reinforced suspension arms. Underbody protection is the quiet hero when rocks swing up like fists. The difference between a gouge and a ruined day is sometimes a plate of steel bolted where most people will never look. And then there's the voice of a tuner humming through a throttle body, the way a properly mapped 6.2-liter V8 with a set of deep-breathing headers can sing over dust and applause. Put a seasoned driver in a desert-born truck, say a first-gen Raptor carrying a tune from a house that knows how to find power across the entire curve, and you get moments where mechanical violence looks like ballet. There are festivals where smoke is not a byproduct but the headline. You can stand at the fence and taste the diesel on your tongue. Somewhere in the throttle chaos, a driver squeezes 9 lives of horsepower from a setup built to do one thing: impress the crowd so completely that everyone goes home louder inside than when they arrived. When a car or truck tips past 2,000 horsepower, you stop thinking in miles and start thinking in metaphors. The turbo spools. The world pauses. Then the boost hits and the pause explodes. The comment sections after events like that turn into large campfires. People throw in their ones and zeros. Did the video blow your mind, or did it fall short? Everyone becomes a critic, a cheerleader, a backseat tuner. The truth is somewhere between data and grin. On a yard where traction is questionable and pride is volatile, a 7.3-liter power stroke with barely 60,000 miles can embarrass a hot Duramax. Not because the blue oval is magic. Not because the bow tie forgot how to build. Because that day, on that patch of dirt, the setup and the driver and the moment aligned. The Chevy didn't just lose, it failed trying, an axle surrendering to forces it wasn't ready to bank. Ask anyone who loves these trucks what addiction sounds like, and they will tell you it sounds like a turbo inhaling sunrise. A big single with enough air moving through it to lift a small tent. When the boost builds and the wastegate holds and the engine says yes, the note is part siren, part chainsaw, part cathedral organ. If you are within earshot, you stop mid-sentence. If you are behind the wheel, you forget you ever had another hobby. That is how statements are made in this world, through sound. Through tire tread as tall as a farmer's forearm. Through rides in Florida that look like sculpted dinosaurs carrying plate steel thrones over sand. Enthusiasm can turn into religion if you are not careful. People will swear blind that their brand is unassailable and every rival is a punchline. The truth, unromantic as it is, depends on use case, on maintenance, on what kind of miles you are stacking and what kind of loads you are dragging. An LBZ Duramax can live an equally long, honest life with the right hands on the wrenches. Performance is a moving target. Pride is static. Confuse the two and you buy parts twice. Up north on stretches of Alberta where the sky feels close and the cold talks back, you find two Ram trucks purring in the dark like wolves. Mid-2000s models with Cummins hearts tuned to thump without apology. They don't simply commute. They perform. The soundtrack alone would convert a skeptic. The metallic chirp of a spool, the exhale of a blow-off valve, the cough and settle as throttle feathers. Somewhere out on a logging road, a driver slides a 2014 Cummins sideways through a gravel corner, the engine tuned clean with a mild bump in fueling, and the emissions off for a private ride. The turbo screams like a kettle, the tires write calligraphy, and the back window fills with dust so thick it could be picked up by hand. Some shows become legends because they flatten the dirt. There was a day when a Chevy belonging to a larger-than-life personality dug trenches deep enough to plant saplings. The point wasn't to go fast from it to be the point was to declare that torque is a form of persuasion. You felt the message through your shoes. Somewhere else, the humbler truth appeared in a field turned to pudding by rain. A late 90s K-Series with a 6.5 turbo might advertise a respectable torque figure, yet torque means nothing if it cannot turn into forward motion. Mud steals traction with an artist's touch. Without a winch, without a tree strap, the truck becomes a lesson in patience. Four-wheel drive can only argue with physics for so long before physics asks for proof and the tires fail to provide it. Other days, what looks like showboating is really discipline under stage lights. 1,000-horsepower diesel execute a burnout that becomes a symphony written in rubber and heat. A 7.3 Power Stroke was not born to play this sheet music, but with the right fuel delivery and tuning it can sing. The driver stands in the smoke like a preacher in fog and the congregation halts. People who told themselves they had seen it all stop walking. Someone yells that the driver must be insane. Insanity in these moments is a kind of applause. Off-road proves its own thesis. A compact SUV built into a monster on 40s finds a hill designed for quads and crosses it off the list. The first bounce gets the heart rate. The second sets the line. Up top there is laughter that sounds like relief wrapped in triumph. A few minutes later, a heavier truck hits a ramp with the kind of speed you usually only see on a rally stage. 7,000 pounds leaving Earth and returning with something like grace is a shock every time. It takes geometry, suspension travel, damping that can think, and a driver who reads the ground the way a sailor reads waves. People still trade stories about a showdown up in Mont Laurier. Years pass and the vivid parts refuse to fade. Two drivers faced each other in a final so intense that the dirt itself might still remember the tire pattern. Those things last because they braided together skill and luck and the right kind of rivalry. Later, somewhere warm, a 2018 Raptor shows up stripped of excuses and layered with upgrades that matter. Fiberglass to fit bigger travel, coilovers that swallow holes whole. Brakes built for heat, exhaust to clear lungs, none of it for vanity, all of it for pace. Most spectators underestimate torque because it is invisible until it is not. It is just a number until a truck drags a hill sideways or launches from a light with trailer in tow and makes it look like a hop. The best drivers speak torque as a first language. They understand how it comes on, how to keep a turbo lit without lighting up the tires, how to carry momentum and save equipment at the same time. On those principles, whole weekends have been built. If you ever stood at Santa Pod during a freestyle session and felt dust in your teeth while a truck tried to empty the sky of air, you understand what I mean. The stands became a single body that day, one pulse, one voice. The internet loves to measure everything, so the ritual repeats. Drop your judgment in the comments. Tell the creators whether they earned your electricity or wasted your minutes. Meanwhile, the trucks keep doing what they do. A lightly built Tacoma with a blower can dance on top of mud where a heavier full-size finds the bottom immediately. Power isn't a blunt tool so much as a scalpel. Weight is the anchor nobody mentions until it is too late. When a compact body with good angles and enough power glides where a big rig sinks, that is physics grading on a curve. You even see the diesel bug bite where you would least expect it. Someone's compact commuter gets injectors with larger nozzles, a straight pipe, and suddenly the mild-mannered car throws a shadow shaped like attitude. Rolling smoke out of something that once whispered to work is the kind of irony a camera loves. The purists will complain. The general public will stare. Somewhere in the middle, a new hobby is born. Among the purist crowd, a clean first-generation Cummins is almost a museum piece. Straight body lines, factory paint, the look of purposeful restraint. When one rolls by sounding like old iron in perfect health, the next turn. The question becomes what you would do with the keys. Drive it forever. Keep it stock and protective. Or start a list that ends with a bigger turbo, stronger clutch, and a roadmap to numbers that begin with 4 digits. Stand behind it, and a full straight pipe soundtrack will climb into your chest. Modern common rail trucks can be louder by measure, but an older rig done right has a timbre that feels like craftsmanship. Every so often, a build appears that makes everyone feel like a kid again. A school bus turned trail toy. A paint job so clean you hesitate to touch the fender. A swap that fits like it was always meant to live there. It is impossible not to smile. And then, like clockwork, the day ends the way the algorithm demands, someone asking, kindly and insistently, for your thumbs and your subscription and your promise to come back for the next big thing. You tell yourself it's just entertainment. You click anyway, because the next big thing is often bigger than you expect. There is a rhythm to this world that keeps pulling people back. It mixes danger and engineering, and a flavor of rebellion you cannot find in quiet places. The machines are the headliners, yes, but the human hands behind them are the authors. The welder who stays late to stitch a bracket with the right gusset. The tuner who chases a flat torque curve like a fisherman hunting calm water. The driver who knows that courage has no value without control. The skeptic who becomes a believer after one passenger ride that rewires respect. Spend enough time here and you learn to translate smell. Hot rubber means celebration or strategy. Gear oil is a warning. A faint mist of coolant becomes a math problem you solve before the green flag drops again. You also develop a quiet love for the solutions other people never see. The cheap board a farmer slides under a tire to claw out of muck. The recovery strap that earns its keep in a single, perfect pull. The way a throttle can either write a check or pay a bill depending on how you feather it. These small, clever choices are the skeleton under the spectacle. Some nights the noise follows you home and paces the halls like a restless dog. You replay the launches and the saves, the good decisions and the lucky ones. Somewhere in there you recognize why it matters. The world often asks for compromise and caution. This corner says bring your boldest self and we will judge you fairly. It says skill and preparation can make a heavy thing fly and land without breaking. It says the line between foolish and fearless is thinner than a gasket and just as important. So the story keeps rolling. New builds rise from shop floors that smell like solvent and optimism. Old rigs get fresh gaskets and second chances. Tracks fill with families and cameras and the kind of laughter that tastes like fuel. The arguments continue online. The brand war's never truly decided because none of us want the conversation to end. A turbo spools in a video thumbnail and you click. A driver somewhere asks for your vote with a cloud of smoke that climbs into evening light. Your hand hovers, then hits like because you know you will be back. The bell icon lives to one side, waiting. You tap it. The next chapter idles, warming up, ready to pull.